So the big cloud of suspicion over Carol is that she offed the husband. And you're like, okay, the guy for the documentary, he's building up this case. Everything is so far circumstantial. Joe's spinning a big yarn, but he has a personal stake in it because he doesn't want her suing him. Because that was one of the things they said, like Doc Bhagavan was talking about that Carol was really, really smart. And she realized what the internet was in terms of business before anybody else did. And she said it at one point, and I forget which episode it was. She said when she made a Facebook page for it, and then you get all the crazy, all the crazy cat people and all the crazy animal people, and she would ask for donations. And she said Facebook would give her a $25,000, $40,000 check once a week from all these donations coming in. And you're like, what? And I will point out that everybody that works at her big cat rescue is a volunteer.
Yeah, she's not paying anybody.
No one. Not a fucking person.
Yeah.
And she made a big point of saying that Don wanted to disown his kids and not leave them any money. And she talked him out of it, say it's not about the money. These are your children. You're going to want to save some money for your children. And now the one thing to me which made, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was going to say, this is probably what you were just about to say. I don't know that we didn't mention this. I think it was the assistant, Don's assistant, said right after he went missing or somewhere in there, she came in and took the wills.
Yes.
And she did something. I forget. Remind me. I'm not remembering all of it, but she did something where she basically redid them, right?
What were you saying, Sean?
I'm saying that the power of attorney had under there was an addendum and it said death or disappearance.
No. That was the whole thing. When he disappeared, Carol went with her brother, the sheriff's deputy, to Don's trailer that served as his office to get the wills. Now, the other thing I forgot to mention is Don came to the assistant 2 days before he disappeared, and she said he was looking kind of funny, and he gave her a piece of paper. He says, if anything happens to me, I want you to hold on to this. And it was basically, he was asking for a restraining order from his wife because she was getting dangerous and she had a gun and she said she was going to kill him because he wanted to move all the cats to Costa Rica and she didn't want to go to Costa Rica. And so he disappeared. Wife and the wife's brother, Carol and her brother, came to cut the chains off, which set off the alarms. And when everybody showed up there illegally, they had every right to do it because she was the wife and he was the one that was gone. And she went in, she took out the old wills and the old power of attorney, and she put her own in.
Mm-hmm.
And Don got declared dead legally by a judge 5 years later, because I think that's the legal limit.
Yeah.
And the day after that, they pulled out the will, or either that or that was the day that Carol went and changed the wills out. I forget now. And Carol's will, and it said it was prepared by Carol, the will, said in case of death or disappearance. And the lawyer was even like, and the guy, the documentarian, he was like, you ever heard of anything like that? And he was like, I've been doing law for 37 years. I've never seen this in a will.
Did it even say death? Or did it just say
death? No. It said in case of death or disappearance. And I mean, I've prepared a will. I've seen my parents' will. I've seen my in-laws' will. I've seen my brother's will, because I'm put on as a either power of attorney or a beneficiary or whatever. And the standard lawyer's thing is, in case of an accident, like you prepare and, you get run over by a car or a piano falls on your head or something. Or in case of death, you drop dead because, you were beating off during COVID and you hung a belt around your neck or something. I don't know. Something like that. I'm just talking about a friend. I'm not talking about myself. But never, ever have I seen in case of disappearance. Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, and I saw an article actually, like the new sheriff who was a narcotics officer back when the dude disappeared, and he's now the sheriff. And he was like, yeah, that will is very suspect. You never see. Go ahead.
We should note, this is what brought me to this when I think you were getting onto this already earlier. His family, so the ex-wife and the daughters, the ones that we were talking about earlier, they got, what was it? Do you remember? I don't remember the percent, but basically
10%.
yeah, she redid the whole will. They
Yep.
got 10%. Carol got 90% of his millions.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Or so the documentary taught us.
Yes. So the documentary told us. So, and Doc Bhagavan talks about it like she totally killed him. And they're like, well, what'd you do with the body? And he just started laughing. He's like, are you kidding me? Do you know how much a tiger eats? He was just like, and he said, I spend $10,000 a year feeding each tiger. And I'm just like, what? And then they go to Joe, and Joe says, like, I spend $3,000 a year feeding each tiger. And I was just like, oh my God. And another thing that I think people are not taking away from the documentary is the poverty that exists throughout America.
Yeah.
Big cities, in the suburbs, in all the wealthy suburbs, people don't realize how piss poor people are. And people always like, oh, how come Trump got elected? It's like, go see what these people live on. And they show Joe. And one of the ways he saved money to feed all the big cats, the Walmart donation truck, which was whenever somebody picks up a steak or a pack of hot dogs or some bologna and brings it to the front and you can't pay for it, and then you leave it there, that gets tossed in a dumpster because it's not legally supposed to go back on the counter. And so they would get this truck and they show all the people working there. Now, this was to me a plus for Joe. They were interviewing all the people working for him and they said, why are you here? And it's like, well, it kept me out of trouble. It keeps me out of trouble. The other guy was like, he kept me from drinking. I have a job. I have something to do. And like you were saying earlier, he's paying these people $100 a week. So like literally like 20, 30 bucks a day, you know?
Yeah.
So all these people, all these misfits that, you know, kind of, and somebody said, and the guy, the documentarian, the reporter, Rick Kirkham, the producer, and he said, like, they're all misfits. They're all, you know, he found a place. And later on, they even show it. Some woman's at a gas station somewhere and somebody's at a bus stop somewhere. I said, like, there's a dude there. He's been at the bus stop for 2 days and 2 nights. Maybe you want to go check it out. And Joe would come over and he said, look, if you need a job, I can give you something. I'll give you like, you know, 20 bucks to start, whatever. And so think about it, like New York metro area. Somebody gives you 20 bucks to start. That's going to get me across the river. That's about it. You know, it's like, what's 20 bucks going to do? But in Oklahoma, that'll last you a while. And that's one of the things I don't think, and it's like my wife was pointing that out because she lived in Texas for a few years after college. It's like people just don't realize how little people have outside of the big metro areas. I don't think they understand. And this was actually, I don't think the guy from the documentary glossed it over. I think that's why he kind of pointed it out and showed when they were going through the meat for the Walmart thing, and the head was like, oh, this is still frozen. And all of them, their heads turned like they were freaking prairie dogs. They were all like, oh, we get free meat? We get free meat?
Yeah, wasn't it like Joe let them get first dibs before they took everything else for the animals?
Absolutely.
You guys were taking spoiled, not necessarily spoiled, but expired meat.
Yeah.
Out of this thing to eat. And a lot of them were, you know, reformed convicts, or, you know, had been out of prison, or like you said, drugs or alcohol or something like that.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Joe, and I'm sure some of the other guys that did it too, they sought these people out and then would give them a job when basically no one else would, and then get them almost in a cult mentality. Not that they painted Joe's Zoo at all like a cult, but almost like they have no way out. Like, this is let me give you an opportunity when there are no other opportunities. And I therefore now have a loyal employee for as long as I want. I can pay them as little as I want and ask them to work as much as I want.
Well, they had the girl, what was her name?
The woman that lost her arm?
Who lost her arm because a tiger lunged for her arm and she went to pull it out and ripped all the skin off her freaking forearm. And she was talking about like going for surgery.
Staph,
yeah. And they're like, well, listen, your hand's going to work. It'll be about 2 years of physical therapy. And
she's 2 years of reconstructive surgery, right?
Well, between the reconstructive and the physical therapy, it'd be like 2 years before she could really use her hand properly. And she was like, just take it off. And a week later, she came back to work for him. And they had the video of her just lying on the ground with just like this like bloody stump hanging out of her sleeve. I don't know if you remember. And then like they went to him and he's like standing there. He's like, I'm never going to recover financially from this. And so
there's a great shot of him going into the gift shop when because the cameras are on him the whole time because they're filming the reality TV show,
right?
Which is such a shame that is never going to exist because the guy's right. He would have made millions off that in that time, like in the world of like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like if you had that show, The Tiger King, but him just walking into that gift shop and just like there's like this chubby kid looking at like keychains. And he's like, okay, everyone, you better be the first to know. You're going to hear about it anyway. Had a bit of an accident, and keeper got their arm bit off by a tiger. Now you can have a refund.
That's right.
And they're just like,
that's right. I forgot about that.
That was great.
You can have a refund, or we'll honor your ticket another day. It's like what? It's like what? That's right. I totally forgot about that. There's so many angles to this. Then there's the fact that Joe married a dude, and then a young guy who tattooed "Property of Joe Exotic" like right above the treasure trail there. Like right below the belly button, like where the pants hide it.
Wow.
Then another guy came along. Was it Travis?
Yeah, I think so.
Who was like 6'6", like suntanned, California skater boy. But it seemed like his mom worked for him, for Joe. And that's how Travis came to know Joe. And Travis was talking about like, oh, his big feet and his big hands. And as long as Joe gave him like weed, he was fine. And then they had a marriage ceremony where the three of them got married together. And it was just like, whoa, okay. I
see online. I saw a link today. It's on YouTube. You can watch the full wedding, the three-way wedding of Joe and his two husbands is online. Watch with him commentating. Joe commentating on his own wedding video.
You guys, I got an idea for our next episode of the podcast. I just heard from a friend of mine.
I thought you were going to propose to us. I'm sorry.
The entire wedding for Joe Exotic and his two husbands is available on YouTube. Believe this.
Yeah. I forgot that.
Rating, huh?
It was just all of it is so crazy. So the main parts are Joe fighting Carol the whole time. Carol has money up the wazoo because very obviously people donate to her week after week. She doesn't pay anybody anything. And I guess she just pays food for the animals and that's it.
And she's got millions from her dead husband.
And she's got millions from her allegedly disappeared husband. So talking to Doc Bhagavan, they kind of went into him a little bit, and you just see how he treats the women there. And it's like hit one of his wives. She's like, she works every day from 8 to 12, and he's like, that's not too much. She said, but I love what I do. It was like, what are you doing? And then they show him like just dressed scantily and hitting drums and like being in a pool with a tiger. But I will say, I mean, I don't know whether it's factual or not. Doc's operation was way slicker, and everybody acknowledged that.
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier, all of these guys went and trained with Doc because Doc just had it down pat, like what to do, how to do it, all of it.
I will say one thing. There was, I think it was only in one episode, but there was one guy who was kind of like a big cat guy who I honestly think was the most reasonable and sensible one of all. And he was a reformed criminal. He was only in one episode. Do you remember this dude? He was like a cartel guy or like a mafia guy. I don't remember if he was Italian.
He was the inspiration. Yes, yeah. He was the inspiration for Tony Montana. Absolutely. I totally forgot. Oh, I got to get another drink. I'm so excited now. Go ahead, talk.
But yeah, they showed him talk, and he was like the most normal, sensible dude. He was like, at one point they were talking about somebody getting murdered and him going to prison because they killed this dude and everything. And he's like, yeah, yes, I knew about it. I wasn't the one who actually killed him, but I did my time, and here I am. Now I like the cats. What was his name? I got to pull up this list I got. He's on here.
Yes, I remember.
Mario.
I remember laughing about it because you're right. He basically was a drug runner for years with his father, went to jail, and he was just matter-of-factly talking about, listen, I didn't kill the guy, but what I'm going to say, Your Honor, I didn't kill the guy, but I was there when the dude took the circular saw to his neck and cut his head off, and I was just like, and he was talking about it like, I'm going to get a drink, I'm going to put some ice cubes in this, and I was like, what? And then his wife is there, and he knew Joe, and he knew Doc, and like, because they all would buy tigers from Joe, more or less, because he bred them like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're right. He was the only one that seemed normal who, spent 20 years in jail for drugs and murder. And it was just like...
He's the most down-to-earth dude in the whole documentary.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Completely. Oh, man, I totally forgot about that guy. So where are we? So we're now... The lawsuits are getting real, and
Joe owes her. What was it? She won, right?
She won the lawsuit.
Joe had to give her $1 million, or
$1 million. Yes.
Which she didn't have.
Which he didn't have. So we're already. I'm trying to think if this is when that happened. No. So now every once in a while they go back to, what was his name? What was the first guy who was his first husband before, like...
hold on. I'll find him.
Before Travis came along. Was it John Finley or something like that?
John Finley, yep.
John Finley, yeah. And they would show John Finley, and he bought him trucks. Joe Exotic bought him trucks, and he bought him, like, a pink crossbow and pink machine guns and RVs and and all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, and he has teeth missing, and it's just like serious summer teeth. Yeah, he has like 2 teeth in his face when he's smiling. And Travis is there, and he loves Travis, and he takes everybody's last name, because first he was Finley, and then he was Maldonado. That was Travis's last name, and then the guy that he married was what was his name? I didn't put that name down, but he was the young guy at the very end. That was he married him literally a week after frickin' Travis. Well, let me get to that point.
It's a wonderfully, beautifully romantic story. How he wooed Travis in the first place. If you remember,
that's right.
He came in and he's like, "Hey, man, you're a big, beautiful man. So are you straight? Are you all the way straight? Are you a little bit gay?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And he's like, "Well, let me ask you a question I ask everybody. When y'all watching porn, do you like to watch the guy with the little pecker fucking her? Or do you like to see the guy with the big dick coming at her?" He's like, "Oh, I like to see the guy with the big dick." He's like, "Well," and I'd say you're not all the way straight. And then that was it. That was the...
It's a romance for the ages is really what it is.
Yeah. Until we found out several episodes later that really he was only there because Joe was giving him meth, right?
Weed. Mostly weed.
I thought it was meth.
It was... Joe Finley, you're right, was meth, or John Finley, what is his name?
John Finley, yeah.
Yeah, John Finley liked meth, but Travis was like weed. Now he did the coke, he did the, like Joe kept all of them in drugs whenever they wanted it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's see. So at this point, all the lawsuits going back and forth. Joe can't keep his mouth shut. He did stupid shit, and basically Carol's got him by the short and curlies. Now we're already no. Oh, Joe decides he's going to run for president.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Joe decides
first. No,
was that
president before governor.
Yeah, president first.
Okay.
president first, then governor? Yes, right.
Which is so funny. I didn't realize this at all watching it. But remember they cut to that John Oliver clip?
Yeah.
I don't know if I saw the John Oliver clip or what, but I definitely back in, when would that have been? What was that, 2016?
Yeah.
I can remember whether it was a John Oliver clip or just that clip on its own, actually seeing that and being like, this is someone who's running for president. I never put the two and two together until I got to that point in the show, but I definitely saw that at the time.
Yes, yes. He ran for president first. And he got his campaign manager. He found his campaign manager in Walmart. He was the weapons counter manager at Walmart. He said, "Hey, you want to run a campaign?" I was like, "This is my dream job. This is what I've always wanted to do. Run a presidential campaign." I'm just like, "Oh." And apparently the way to be a presidential campaign manager is by working in Walmart. Cheers. Okay, got it.
Oh yeah.
What was his name, the campaign manager? Joshua Dial. And he seemed like a fairly regular guy. And he was just like, I knew Joe was out there, but I figured, what the hell, let's run the campaign. So they ran the campaign for president. Before that, he meets
Jeff.
What's his name? Jeff Lowe. Yes.
Jeff Lowe.
Jeff Lowe comes along. That's right. What's her face? Carol Baskin has Joe by the short and curly.